All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We are taking a virtual tour through a really fascinating and unique kind of collection, a digital museum. This isn't a place built with bricks and mortar, but with code and pixels. So let's start with this big question. What even is a museum? And what happens when it only exists online? We tend to think of these grand physical buildings, but in the digital age, that whole concept is changing. So let's explore a space that was designed from the ground up just for the web. And that right there, that's the core mission of the place we're visiting today, the Gunther Cox Digital Museum. This isn't just some random blog or a jumble of web pages. Nope, it's a carefully curated space with a really clear purpose, to save and show information in a way that actually makes sense together. Okay, let's dive in. Every good museum needs a map, right? Well, here's ours. The space is organized into three main areas: the art wing, the science wing, and the natural history wing. For our tour today, we're going to kick things off in the art wing. So our first major stop takes us into the super vibrant and, let's be honest, often misunderstood world of graffiti. This museum has an entire collection dedicated to documenting this art form exactly where it lives, out on the streets. The museum has this really cool way of looking at graffiti. It's not just some modern thing with spray paint. It's seen as part of this long, long line of a deeply human need to leave a mark, to say, I was here. You can trace it from ancient walls in Pompeii all the way to today's train cars. And what better place to see this art in action than in alleyways? These are kind of like the hidden galleries of a city. They're where artists can experiment, and the walls themselves become these incredible, layered records of conversations happening over time. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. The very surface of the city completely changes the art. A tag on a porous brick wall feels like it's been there forever, like it's part of the building. But on a steel door that gets painted over every week, that's a whole different story. It's all about impermanence, a constant cycle of marking and being erased. The medium truly is the message here. So it's not just about the materials. The museum also digs into the actual stories behind the marks on the wall. And some of these stories are massive. They're global, while others are these intense little local mysteries. Let's start with a huge one. Think about this. Long before the internet, how did an idea go viral, like across the entire globe? Well, the answer might just be one of the world's very first memes. And the answer is this guy. Meet Kilroy. For soldiers during World War II, finding this little doodle in a town they just captured or on the side of a ship, it was this amazing sign of solidarity. It was an inside joke, a piece of folklore, and proof that another soldier had been there before them. And its journey is just incredible when you break it down. It started as a simple inspector's mark in a shipyard. Then it spread like wildfire through the military. And eventually, it became such a pop culture icon that it literally made it to the moon. A piece of graffiti that became a legend. Okay, so we've seen this huge global story. Now let's zoom way in to an unsolved local mystery. For almost 2 decades, these really strange symbols, people call them the VO tags, have been popping up on overpasses all over Connecticut and Massachusetts. But what on earth do they mean? And the theories are all over the map. Could it be the tag of an artist named Veo? Is it a reference to the secret symbols used by travelers during the Great Depression? Some people even think they're ancient alchemical symbols. Realistically, it's probably just a local meme that a bunch of people have copied, but the mystery is what makes it so fascinating. Okay, as cool as the graffiti exhibit is, and it is very cool, it's just one piece of the puzzle. Let's take a quick spin through some of the museum's other wings just to get a sense of the incredible range of topics it covers. Hopping over to the science wing, we find these amazingly detailed exhibits on the natural world. This one, for example, is a super deep dive into the six-spotted green tiger beetle. I mean, it covers everything from its life cycle to how it hunts. It just goes to show the level of detail the museum brings to all its subjects. All right, next up, the technology wing. This is where we meet Selvius. He's a humanoid robot built by the museum's curator himself, mostly from recycled stuff. It's this fantastic, ongoing passion project in hobbyist robotics. Just awesome. The museum is also totally on top of what's happening right now in contemporary art. Take this piece, Fountain 2.0. No human hand created this. It was generated completely by an AI from a text prompt. It's a really fascinating look at how technology is changing what it even means to create art. Okay, this exhibit might be my personal favorite. It's called Wake Words. It's a collection of screenshots from when a phone's voice assistant just accidentally turns on. And the results are these wonderfully bizarre, poetic little phrases it creates by trying to figure out background noise. It's like finding poetry in a glitch.
So, after seeing all of this amazing stuff, you might be wondering, how does a place like this even get made? Well, for the last part of our tour, we're going to go behind the curtain and look at the philosophy and the how-to of building a digital museum.
Well, the curator himself, Gunther Cox, talks about his inspiration. He connects it all the way back to the old curiosity cabinets of the Renaissance, and even to the Voyager golden records that we sent out into space. It's all about that thrill of discovery and wanting to save a little snapshot of our world.
And this right here is such a powerful idea. Think about it. Unlike the endless algorithm-driven feeds on social media, a digital museum is an intentional space. It's been curated. It invites you to explore and actually engage with things at your own speed instead of just mindlessly consuming.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Creating a space like this is surprisingly accessible. You don't have to be a tech genius. The museum itself lays out a pretty simple guide. Find a niche you're passionate about, use free tools that are out there, add context to your items because that's what makes it a museum. Plan how people will get around, and make sure everyone can access it.
All right, so as we wrap up our tour, let's just quickly go over the big points. We've seen how digital museums are these really personal, curated archives. They can preserve pretty much anything, from street art that disappears in a week to complex science stuff. They're a real alternative to the rest of the web. And maybe the best part? The power to build one is in pretty much anyone's hands.
And that leaves us with one final thought to take away. In a world with just endless amounts of information, deciding what's worth saving is a really creative act. So if you were to build your own digital museum, your own little corner of the internet to save something you think is valuable, what would you choose to preserve?